Look how dark that is.
Perfect. Now, do you add a little chocolate flavor to it?
It's got chocolate malt in it. It's got black cat in it. Use it a little bit of
that. Is that being recorded right now or? No, thank you. You're so.
It's 4:01 and the meeting is called to order. We do not have the minutes this month, but we'll review them and vote on them next month because of staffing issues that we had the previous month. So the next topic is somebody that might be on the floor. I would like to speak for 5 minutes.
Hi. Good afternoon, Steve Toski, 135 North First Street. I wanted to come to talk to the Parks Department about how important the parks are to my wife and I. Robin, we've walked in, I would say every park or close to every park now in St. Helens, and we're enjoying them more and more each time. We've walked the Urban Trail. Jerry's seen us out walking. We've walked on the Nob Hill Trail. We support the trail going up to North River. Where we lived for many years before we moved to St. Helens in Pleasanton, California, there's a park system called East Bay Regional Parks. And in Pleasanton, we were blessed enough to have parks that were nearby. And I can say that we use those parks all the time. We walked in them, we enjoy the nature there. And I applaud the work of the Parks Department to defend our parks, to make sure that our parks are preserved. I think that some of you were here at the hearing about the Keith Locke vacation, and Brenda from the library came and talked about the importance of water views and just nature views for people. And I can tell you personally from my experience that getting out into nature and just having a chance to look at trees and grass and getting away from things has really benefited me every time I've done it. And I make an effort to do it all the time. So I wanted to thank you all and just say that you have a supporter in me and my wife. Also, I wanted to come to thank you for coming to the Keith Locke vacancy and for throwing the support of the Parks Commission behind denial of that. Mr. Locke requested the continuance of the hearing to September 7th, and I think that we shouldn't let him think that the battle is over. These are extremely important points of public access that the city is being asked to essentially give to somebody so that they can make money. And these are things that are important to us and important to the future generations. How does our city look? What are our open spaces? And so I'm just encouraging the folks who went before to go again, and for the Parks Department, the Parks and Recreation Commission to continue to try to retain those public properties now and in the future. And then my last thing is that I think a lot of these properties were neglected for years because I think that there's some potential of just a person just not wanting to develop them. Because in the end, we find out that one of the city council people wants to have it, wants to own it. And had it been developed and developed in what it could be, the city may not have parted with it for nothing or not have parted with it at all. So I'm using that to underscore that there are people always looking to try to get our parks. And they're planning and they're trying to get the lands that the people can use. And so let's be vigilant and try to do the best we can to maintain our park system and our open spaces. Thank you.
I think it's safe to say that nobody on the park commission is in favor of that for the property to be given away.
Oh, I know that. I mean, you voted against it and that was noted on the public record. I'm just saying that we shouldn't think that because I don't know why he's asking for the hearing to be continued, but I think we need to let the council know that this is something that the people are not going to give up on. even if it means attending one more time, and showing up and saying, we're still here, we're not going away. We still want to retain this for the public because he's not giving up.
I think if he's serious about, developing that and then doing something with the overlook himself, he would do, actually make some concrete plans, show us a concrete design, exactly what's gonna happen there before giving any of that away. Just tell us, what he's gonna do. And he hasn't done that, so, I mean,
He just wants free property, that's what he wants.
I know that, but
I'm gonna testify to this at the council meeting, but during a break, I talked to Mr. Locke. And he said he's not intending to develop it, he's gonna sell it. So this is just a means for him to gain more property for sale. It's pretty evident, I think you're drawing the correct conclusions or potential conclusions. Also, I'm a little concerned for the city because they've put in these drawings of his proposed 5 buildings. And I'm starting to look at the setbacks and the footprint they're gonna have. And I'm afraid for the city that if they decide to go through with this thing with these preliminary drawings, then we really could be stuck with kind of a lousy project. Because the developer buys it and says, well, look, this footprint was approved. But he's not planning to develop it. I agree with you. And I liked your point that you made in the hearing, which was, when you buy a piece of property, you kind of know what you're getting when you're buying it. And nobody's taking anything away from him. He's trying to take things away from the public.
We all keep thinking of more things and questions that would be asked at one of those here at the next hearing, and they said that we can still add more things.
Yeah, well, the mayor said that people can express additional comments, and I think it's important for people to show up, so
I've already got
I'm
three
gonna
or
call
four.
Brenda,
Questions.
and we're not done yet. We're not done. The battle is still raging.
I don't see how this thing's continued.
All right, well, thank you. And then I have also something on HB 3115 that I think Howard's gonna make a presentation, but I saw it was on your agenda. and
I
I've
don't
looked at it a
know.
lot.
We'll get it.
Steve, what were you gonna say? What was that? You said, what was the thing you just mentioned?
House bill.
House Bill 3115, which is the homeless,
Okay.
thing that I've spent a lot of hours on that. As a matter of fact, I just wrote as a planning commissioner for the planning commissioner to undertake a study of HB 3015. And I can talk to you guys about what I have put in there if you want at some point, if you're interested.
I'll ask people, but we may want to bring it back in the conversation here.
Spent a lot of time studying HB 315 and then also 2 cases, the 2 federal court cases, which is a different type of problem than HB 315. There are 2 federal cases which are problematic, and then there's HB 3115, which I just put in a request for the planning commission to start studying it for recommendations to the council. So I can kind of talk to you about that if you want.
Say 115?
HB 3115. And then I think it's HB 3124, which also is like if you eradicate or if you get rid of a campsite, what do you do with the stuff? But I'm here if you want to talk more about it. I won't take your time unless you want to. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you all.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak to a topic from the floor?
Or online?
Hearing none, we're going to Paul Barlow, who's going to give us a park update for the skate park and BMX track.
What was it on there?
Is he here? No? Okay. All right. Next is motorcycles in the park. Howard?
Mainly, I'd just like to say once again, last month on the 25th, I had a motorcyclist come past me at high rate of speed in Mountville Nature Park, missed me by 1 foot to 1.5 feet. I do have a video of it now. It didn't come through right away, so at first I thought I did it and I could show it to the police. The police have now said, well, there's no real open investigation on it right now. And well, if we happen to come across a guy that kind of meets that description you gave. So I'm trying to figure out if there's a way possibly if we find somebody, I don't know, I'm not one person to know how you post something like this on social media, but there's some very distinctive shots, even though it goes by really fast, of the motorcycle he was on.
No license plate?
No license plate, it was an off-road bike. But you can most definitely tell the type of hand grip and thing that was sticking in front of his hand. You can't quite read what's on the hat, but you can see the shapes of the two symbols that were on his hat and a rough of what was on design on his shirt. And there's, one frame, it's like, if you let it go through it normal, it just goes by so fast. And if you go real slow, dragging your finger across, you actually have a very good picture of his face. But that also leads me to another one, because now twice I've had instances a few years ago where a four-wheel ATV went into the park when it was snowing out. You could follow the tracks back onto the guy's porch, and the police didn't really want to do anything about it. Well, we can't prove who was riding it, but still, to me, if you would have tracks that go from in a park where they're not supposed to be, and it goes onto the porch, there should be something that could be done to the person. So it's like, how much proof do we need when it comes to,
We've got to catch him in the park.
or if nothing else, if I have a video like this and if we hit the bike, at the least the bike should be impounded. The other time when I could show you that machine was in the park, nobody wants a cop to being on the bike, on the ATV. ATV could be confiscated and held till somebody gets it out and who's ever the registered owner.
It's just like the speeding tickets that you get the photo of.
Mhm.
It's not you driving, all you gotta do is say it's not you driving. Even if they get a picture of someone else, you can say who it is, they don't get the ticket.
The thing is though, with this guy, he came within 1.5 feet of me. That is a total different than somebody just riding through a park. That
It
is
shouldn't even be in
assault.
the, it shouldn't even be in the park on a bike.
No. And so that's it. We need to somehow think about how we can do more awareness. That's why I've got to find somebody to think of what social media we could post this on to see if all the time you see videos of people doing things and somebody goes, hey, wait a second, I recognize the shape of that hat or that bike. And so I'm starting to wonder if we need to go that route.
Seems like maybe Parks and Recreation, we could post that, maybe at least make people aware.
There are
That's
rules on
happening.
city social media. You'd have to ask Crystal what's allowed and what's not as far as posting people's.
All right, we can do
Pictures.
that.
Okay.
What about controlling access to the park?
Well, that's the next one, is that do we need to start putting things in the trails that make it harder for our benches to get built, but they could be moved for that application, but do we need to put things that would create a little bit of a barrier so somebody like that would have a lot harder of a time to ride through it? And right on it, then you could have a sign, no motorized vehicles. So those are all things we eventually need to think of if this problem continues. So that's all I have on that.
Next one is to discuss the new state rules on homelessness and camping.
That's where I may ask if we can defer to Steve for a half a second here. I didn't know how to find the bill. I'm not a really good paperwork person. But once again, when I was talking to the police officer about it, and I mentioned that we were having somebody camping in a camper down there going into the veneer plant property, he said, by the way, in a while, there could be some ruling that law or something that's coming down where that if you do not have a shelter in your community or something, there could be the possibility that people would be allowed the right to camp in certain parks or public spaces. So that's something, this is the second time I've heard of it, although this time it sounds like, the other time I heard about it, somebody was just saying, there's a bill that may be, and now I'm starting to hear that there is a bill that does say something to that effect. So I don't know if we want to defer and everybody go home and try to find this particular bill that Steve was talking about, or if he could describe it a hair more to us. Am I reasonably right in my assertion?
Actually,
Okay,
yeah.
so maybe we should carry it on to next month and everybody probably should try to see if we can find it, or if we find a link to it, Pat, we can give it to the rest of us.
If you want, I could outline the issues. And-
Yeah, I'd like it, you know, I'd say.
The quick one, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So, first, I'm licensed as an attorney in both California and Oregon. I've been practicing for over 30 years. And so, there's two problems that are facing the city right now. And one is called HB 3115. That's House Bill 3115. What that bill does is it allows for any person who is experiencing homelessness to challenge sleeping and lying laws in a city as being not objectively reasonable and something that needs to be fairly implemented for a person experiencing homelessness. So as an attorney, I can tell you this, I've never seen an objectively reasonable standard written in any law, because reasonableness is really a matter of opinion. So I'm not sure how you can have an objectively reasonable standard. So the problem with that law is that it allows for attorney's fees for prevailing parties in litigation. So what I see as a potential issue with that law is that basically anybody who wants to complain at any time about any sleeping or lying law, camping in the park, motorhome here, something there, can sue the city and say this is unreasonable from the perspective of a homeless or the homeless. And then some judge has to sit there and go, oh yeah, maybe it is or maybe it isn't. And if the person wins, they get attorney's fees. And so what this law has the real potential of having is a lot of vexatious litigation, that people who are financially supporting homeless advocacy groups will fund potentially hundreds of lawsuits against municipalities, each one claiming some aspect of the sitting and lying laws are unreasonable from the perspective of the homeless, and then seeking attorney's fees. And so the effect of that, if it occurs, will be you have the city just with this gigantic budget of litigation and be fending off lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit, with the idea that the advocacy groups then are going to want judges to essentially tell us how we want to live in this town, tell us what we have to do. So what is the defense to HB 3115? So one thing is we met, there's already a meeting, and there were some stakeholders at a meeting. I think Shauna was there, and then the chief of police was there. I was there, Rachel Berry was there. So this happened several months ago. We were talking about sleeping and lying laws. So that the attack is on the laws that are sleeping and lying. So long story short is, no camping in the park, unless you have the proper permit. That's one of the laws that potentially could be attacked. No camping after sundown in a lot of our parks, right? You go to a lot of them, sundown, it's closed, park's closed, you can't camp there. And so what I just proposed before I came over here, because we have this new proactive planning commission. So what I proposed is that we study this law, and what the law has a gigantic loophole in it. It's 203 ORS statute 203.079. I think it's basically what it says is, as long as your laws are humane, then they are immune from attack under section 3115. And so what I proposed to do with the planning commission as an attempt to advise the council is to review our sleeping and lying laws, make sure they're humane, make sure our laws of where you can camp with campers are humane, which is the standard. Once you have that standard in place, then you can adjust your statutory structure saying this has been found to be humane. And then that will insulate hopefully the city from attack. And the idea is that we would, so the process we're now in is I've submitted the request. And then the planning commission has to decide whether they want to take it up in September, because you have to submit a certain number of days in advance, staff has to weigh in on it. So this could be, and I've talked to the mayor about it, and I think he's receptive to the planning commission generally. I don't want to speak for the mayor, and he doesn't speak for the council. I'm just saying that this is a problem because this HB 31115 takes effect on July 23rd, 2023. So at the very least, we need to be in a position of defending ourselves from people's, you have somebody who decides they want to camp right out here, right? And we say, hey, you gotta move. And they say, okay, I'm just gonna sue you now. And then somebody else comes the next day, there's another lawsuit, somebody comes the next day, there's another lawsuit. I mean, so that's the process on that.
So I think we're gonna have to stop there for the sake of time. And so you are suggesting that we all go and look up House Bill 3115.
Yeah.
Okay, and was there another one that we should look at as well?
Yeah, I think if I were you, you might want to check in with Shauna and just make sure that, that's good, I think. And I think get for the Parks Department to be versed in the, where can people sleep and under what circumstances, and make sure that we feel that there are strong enough laws. The idea is the homeless problem is not our problem. We're not making it. We're a town of 14,000 people. But we could definitely become,
Need to be aware.
it could become a huge problem for
I want to make just a quick comment here. It was my understanding that there's what's called the Boise, I'm not sure what it's called, the Boise law, it went through courts, that if a city had a designated place for homeless to camp, then they could be removed from streets and parks.
Okay, so there are two cases now. One is that, so this is the separate issue. And this has to do with federal judges that there's a case called Martin versus Boise. And what Martin versus Boise said was there were some people that were trying to sleep in the winter with blankets and bathrooms. That's who the people were. They had no shelter. They had no ability for shelter, and they're trying to sleep in a bathroom. And the police said, you can't sleep here. And they said, we have no place to go. And so what the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal held was that if you don't have any place for the people to go, then you can't enforce the law against sleeping and lying as being a cruel and unusual punishment under the Eighth Amendment. So I've read the Harvard Law Review on this thing, the criticism. I've read some other cases. So that was what one federal judge decided to do. Things worsen because then you have this City of Grants Pass case, which is currently pending before the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal. This was an injunction issued by a trial judge in Grants Pass concerning sleeping and lying laws. And the judge in that particular case, the person just didn't want to go where they wanted to put her. Like literally, there were shelters for that person. They didn't want to go there. There are shelters that don't allow drug people in there. So maybe she didn't qualify for that. I'm not sure exactly. I'd have to look at the facts. And the court then kind of expanded this law by saying, if you don't have a place for the person to go that is sufficient for them, then now I'm going to say you can't enforce your sleeping and lying laws. So what the court did in the Grants Pass case, in Grants Pass, Oregon right now, the city is enjoined by court order from enforcing its sleeping and lying laws in parks, which essentially the homeless have moved into their parks. And I was going through there last year with my wife, and they have this beautiful Riverside Park. It's one of the most horrible and disgusting things I've ever seen in my life. And
Have to stop you.
All right.
I think you first gave quite the slide.
Is we'll review that and get better acquainted with what that law or that House bill is. And then come back and invite you to be a guest.
I will come back and do another presentation because actually I did have got the briefing on it and I've read some of the briefing. I've also discussed the matter with the Grants Pass city attorney.
Okay,
So this is another separate thing that is definitely a real threat. We have not managed to keep right now we enjoy a very free and open society where people are not, camping in our public places and doing the things that people do that. It's not by accident. We've been enforcing our laws and that's what we need to continue to do to have strategy. So let me know when you want me to come back.
all right, thank you very much. Okay. The next item is under old business and it's a Sand Island tour that we did last week and there's going to be a discussion. And that's for Howard and Jacob to discuss. And ask questions.
I just thought the tour went really well. The park was maintained really well. The campsites looked good. I think Jerry said the bathrooms could have been done a little bit better. But overall, the whole campground looked nice. I didn't see a lot of garbage. I didn't see, people everywhere. So.
I was very impressed with the way that it looked over there. And I think the beginning of the sandcastle
Yeah,
competition.
that was cool. Beginning of the sandcastle competition was cool. I got some pictures of that.
Hate to think of what,
You saw 'em.
Yeah.
hate to think of what's over there right now. I hear it's really pretty fantastic
Yeah.
and that they could last a week or two.
So I just want to mention that all of us went on that tour.
The people that came to do the sandcastle competition, the lady said that these guys were professional ice carvers
They've
from
been on
Alaska. They'd never done sand before. They just worked with ice. And it was amazing just to see what we saw.
And there's big money there's money in it.
Right.
People are surviving just traveling around doing sandcastles.
The guy taking care of the parks, very friendly. He gives right over, right back, but he's doing a good job cleaning the parks up. My question is, where does the money from the park over there go, the campgrounds?
We had some questions, but some of the people that could answer those questions aren't here today.
Yeah, I think John Walsh or Sean, I don't know if Shauna knows that.
He might, but I don't think she would.
That'd probably be a John question, since St. Marina's running that.
Yeah.
The State Marine Board has that land and I don't know how they're intertwined.
When this was all starting out, that was one of the questions, I asked, how, I want St. Helens Marina to make money. I want them to be successful, because like we said, the park is really pretty nice.
Right.
But if there's, my understanding was there was going to be the city was going to get a certain portion of each campsite. I think there's 60-something sites there, 80 sites. And so every time,
83.
and I think Howard, you said it's $30 per night.
Yes, and some type of discount or credit for St. Helens.
I want Brad to make, them to make money, but still yet if, they're using the park, and everything and, we should get, and the other thing we talked, all of us were the ones that were there. And the other thing we talked about, we would really like to see that money go to the Parks Department.
Yeah, we'd like to see some way, I don't know if we can or not, where that money goes right just back to parks. So we can use it for or a field somewhere or equipment somewhere when things break down or when we need it. We can say, hey, we have the money to do this instead of taking it out of the general fund.
So then maybe we need to make a motion, like I would like someone on the city staff to come and brief us on the financial agreements between St. Helens Marina and the city. So besides, do we just need to make a motion to
Just
request that or just ask for someone to come?
You don't need a motion. We'll just find out who that is, the best person is for that, and then invite them.
Can you do that, Lynn?
Yes.
or whoever does it.
I could do it.
Other than that, though, I thought the tour went well and it looked nice.
I was real happy. The guy was punctual on picking us up and getting us back and forth.
He was hauling people back and forth all day.
Yeah.
I would like to see the display cleaned up.
Yeah.
You know, there's a display that was made many years ago. They poured a great big, I want to say circular because I didn't look at it that close.
Well, you
But
couldn't see the edges because they were.
yeah, and then there was two signs there that talked about, you know, Native Americans and it was really pretty nice, but it
Getting
had,
overgrown and,
it's not maintained.
and
It'd
And I
be
don't know,
nice if it was cleaned up.
I don't know if it'd be them to clean it up a little bit or park staff. That's probably the question right there on that one.
How often does park maintenance go out there?
Once every 3 months we go out there just to make sure that the bathrooms are still being maintained. But I mean, other than that, we don't do anything else out on the island anymore.
Yeah, one of the bathrooms had a sign on it that said, not in use.
Do you know which one it was?
Well, as you come down the
more
ramp,
northern one.
yeah, as you come down the ramp, it's like God said, it's the first one on the left that's kind of, you know, up a little higher, and there's two of them side by side. Yeah. And it's the northern one, right?
Yeah.
Of the two.
Also the blackberries are spraying.
Blackberry spray?
Blackberries are.
And at the
Good,
island.
'cause I was gonna eat
I was
some
gonna
of them.
say, did too many people eat those?
I was going to. I don't know if they're spraying.
I'm glad to hear they weren't spraying them.
I wanted to eat some.
Okay, any other discussion on that? Okay, so next on the agenda is a counselor's report, but we do not have our counselor present. So staff report is next. Are you giving part of a staff report for Jonah?
She didn't give me anything to say, but
Okay.
You have anything to add?
I don't have anything.
Your staff?
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Well, maybe. So now we're down to discussion items. So I just wanted to let everybody know that Crest started their work about a week and a half ago down at the Dalton Lake Nature Preserve. And they've been working on this project, as I've been reporting off and on for 2.5 years. And they've got the heavy equipment in there. They had to make a small change, so the whole advisory committee went down to see, actually, and walk the area where they were going to be scouring that east side. And we all agreed it wasn't large enough to be worried about. We knew what the depth was going to be, and they almost had the whole water control structure out. And they're moving forward really. In fact, they brought some logs in that they're going to be putting in there as part of the mitigation. But I think it's going really well.
Beaver Dam still intact?
Oh, well, they had to notch it down, is what they call it. But the beavers are trying to build it up every night, but it flooded a month ago, about the end of June. Yeah, you saw that.
Yeah.
So they had to take that beaver dam down a bit so that the water would drain out so they could get the heavy equipment in to work on the project, because there's a critical time limit for them to work in there, or where there is the least impact on birds, migratory and otherwise. So anyway, they're doing good. So the next thing is as you know from last time, I brought up the old Boise Park and asked the commissioners to go there and take a look at it and see what they thought of taking that area and making it into a reserve for the city. The city owns quite a bit of property there. I actually walked the whole thing, and it's pretty unique geologically. And so what do you think about bringing this forward or working on it, and maybe starting a committee of volunteers here for the commissioners? I actually went to planning and I got 9 maps from Jennifer, and she explained quite a bit of what the history of that was. And I'm also interested in talking to the port because they wanted to make that land that they own across from the creek to make it into some kind of reserve as well, some woodland reserve. So there had already been discussions between the city and the port, and I'd like to revisit that. It's just, Jenny was saying, when I went in there, I was so surprised. It was like not even being in the city. And so it's a beautiful place. If you get a chance to go there and you haven't so far, then take a walk down in there.
So yes, I think you asked at the beginning of your presentation. I think we should try to move forward on that. I know it's kind of it'll be a long range plan because
Yes.
things move so slowly, but well, we've all been down there. And it is, it's like Jen was saying, it's like not being in a city, and it's absolutely, it used to be beautiful when Boise took care of it, at least part on this side of the creek. But yes, I'm not sure I want to tackle that, but I think that we should,
Okay.
or someone should.
It's basically working on it and taking a look at the maps and seeing, you know, where those boundaries would end. And, but I'd like to take another tour of the whole area because I'm sure you probably saw where along the creek where the old swing set was and the barbecue, and there is, I think, a picnic table or two there, and there's just bare bones of those things right now. But otherwise, it's pretty unique. I was pretty.
Maybe just doing another little field trip this
Yeah.
week where we could
Yeah.
meet and.
I would like to go on, I've never been, you know, I used to walk that creek a lot, and I've never been on the other side of the creek in that area. So if we go down there, I'd really like to go on the port property. I guess we
Yes.
can do that without permission.
Yes, and you can get there by, at the end of the bridge, you know, at McCormick Park there, as you're crossing on Old Portland Road.
Yeah.
You can get there along the creek and walk that.
Yeah, I'd like to see what that looks like. And you talked about a bridge, didn't you, Scott?
I had a nosy down there, yeah, you can go down there a little ways, but it's
Right,
fairly
it's a little
overgrown now.
primitive now.
Yeah, but I mean, I was thinking it'd be great to have, you'd have a trail on either side of the place and have a, you know, a little loop for that. You have the two bridges on either side of Old Portland Road that are gonna go, when they expand or widen the Old Portland Road. Those are gonna be taken out, you use those.
The passenger or the foot traffic
Well,
bridge?
Yes, that's what I understand.
They were going to, when the port and the city were talking before, they were talking about having a footbridge across that as well, so. And that would be on the east side, closer to the Columbia.
You could go all the way down to where the port has the bridge down there. Right now, that's a very nice little bridge too. I mean, you could have a, 4.5 miles of just gasoline of a
Beautiful.
real trail. I mean,
Nice place for families,
real.
kids to go down, and it's cool when it's hot out, you know, you go down in there and it's, but anyway,
And the creek is really beautiful down there too.
yes,
Yeah.
it is, a lot of ripples. So,
it looks like it's in a natural state right now.
yeah,
Old trees.
well, we want to keep it that way as a reserve as much as possible, but it would be nice too to maybe have a picnic table like they had. I don't think they had very many. And, you know, just so that they can pack it in, pack it out. You know, but
I'm not sure exactly what your definition of a reserve is because my experiences in New Zealand and the reserve is basically a park.
okay, so reserve, preserve do not have the park amenities that you see here at McCormick Park or Campbell Park or some of the others. It's a place where it's passive, you know, improvements, very passive, so you can keep that sense of being away from the city and allowing the nature to thrive there. So you're not disturbing it so much, but I have a better description that I'll go ahead and bring next time.
Okay.
All right, and I'll go ahead and organize the time with everybody when we can meet, what day and what works best. And if the 4:30 time slot works good for you, okay, then let's get together and do that. And I'll send that out to everybody and all the commissioners.
Lynn, Paul just came in. I don't know if you want to go back.
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay, thank you for letting me know. Okay, so that was Paul. Can you hear me? Paul?
Yeah, yep,
Okay, I've got one more item and then you're on.
okay.
Okay. Okay, so I had another thing here that I got on Friday, late afternoon, was a special use permit for Halloween Town. And all I was interested in finding out was what parks were gonna be used. So that maybe we could give suggestions or be kind of prepared if we needed to be with more volunteers. And so, that they are going to be using a Nob Hill Nature Park as well as Columbia View Park. So that is going to be starting in the middle of September.
Which did you say, Knob Hill and
Nob Hill and Columbia View.
they want to see us last year?
Yeah, same as last year.
And actually considering this, or you know,
Yeah,
actually considering with my feelings towards the park, and that as I have repeatedly stated to the city what was in it for Nob Hill last year, and we got one green of gravel that made over $750,000 from making Halloween Town last year. I personally put in probably 8 to 10 hours of rebuilding the top of the stair trail where all the gravel was knocked off and it was starting to heavily erode. During the event, I, every other week, had to shovel the gravel back up onto there, where normally I would only have to do it once every 4 to 6 months. And so I consider this a little bit of a slap in my face that they would actually consider doing it with no input from the Friends of Nob Hill or the Parks Commission, that they would just come in there. I'm seriously taking a look at that. I'm probably going to stop doing trail maintenance in there, because why am I maintaining it for 3,000 to 5,000 people when there's nothing given back to the park? You know, not even a grain of gravel. You know, why are the friends of the park? Once again, Nob Hill Nature Park is the only park in the city where it says that the Friends Group manages the maintenance of the park. We're the only Friends Group listed in the city's website about parks. And yet we're not consulted in anything like this, trying to talk to people about if there's a special area that may take extra special blocking off to keep their people from going. There's no discussion with the people from Halloween Town. And I find this very disturbing. I also have very high concerns that last year they were doing 100 people per hour through the park. And now they have recently bought a people mover that'll do hold 120 people. And so if they're going to use that there, that's totally different than having 25 people every 15, 20 minutes come there versus 100 people get dumped off at the trailhead. And suddenly there's 100 people.
Howard, I'd like to address this to Tori. Do you know, were you aware of, some of the issues that came up?
Oh, I mean, me and Howard have talked. I mean, we just did a walk the other day when we were looking at the benches of all the different things that he's talking about. I've seen him. I know what he's talking about.
Okay.
I didn't even get a chance to get gravel on all the trails that were worn last year. So once again, the trail system is just going to take a huge beating. And once again, I can't see that you would do anything just before an event. There needs to be something thought of what we would do after the event to make the park whole for the users the rest of the year, when they're talking about, I mean, like I said, last year, the closest I could come up was 3,000 to 5,000 people, and the top of the stairs got twice that amount. You know.
Howard, maybe is there some people that you would like to have a discussion with separately, like with Sean and John, or?
Yeah, Shauna, John, I'd like to hear what their exact plans are for the area.
Okay.
You know, just so we could give input on things and how many, a little bit. I mean, it is a nature park. It is, one of our gifted assets. A lot of neighbors. We have people come out from all of our community, Portland and everywhere else to enjoy the park during that time of the year.
Would you like to schedule that meeting?
Um,
Or would you like me to talk to Shauna?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and do that.
Mhm.
Take care of that.
But I want to say something about this grant that we gave me here.
Mhm.
So Lynn came up with a grant here, and I gave it to Tori. And it's, and then maybe it could be used even for the Riverwalk, because it says there's 30 million available with a 10.27% match. And there's also 4 million available in the State Transportation Operation Fund for smaller construction projects with a 30% match. And there's a few other things there. And kind of on the back here, it says critical links, walking and bike connections to schools, downtown shopping, employment, and other essential destinations. So, it kind of fits in with the urban trail and also with the Riverwalk. But the application has, I don't know if the city's aware of this, they might already be aware of this, but it has to be submitted by September 15th.
So what would you like to see done with that?
Well, I gave Tori a copy of this. He said he'd give it to Shauna. And I think I'll talk to Doug or maybe John or,
Jennifer.
yeah, or someone. I might even go all the way, or Jennifer or someone.
Mhm.
Just as, they may know all about this, but I think the city staff needs to be aware of this because they've only got like a few weeks to get this in. And good job, Lynn. I know they're out there.
I'm on their list. Okay. Great. So, so you are going to handle getting
I
people
will,
aware.
I'll talk to someone in the city staff or several people. I already talked to Tori.
Okay,
He's gonna go directly to Shauna, right? Yep.
sounds good. So next on the list is,
We're still waiting on Paul.
next on the list
Can
is,
I say something?
sure.
Just want to mention that I've had a couple of meetings about the siting of the stage at Columbia View Park. I first met with Jenny Dimshaw. We discussed that and she thought it possibly could, because my concern is that it's where the stage is now, it's pretty intimate with the crowd that's there. It's set back and it's skewed to one side of the amphitheater as it's in the concept design. So I'm kind of concerned about that. So we had the meeting. Jenny said that we could look at tweaking it a little bit to center it more. Then I had another meeting with Jenny again and with John Walsh and Tina Curry, and they went through a number of scenarios that they went during their design process. And one of the scenarios was with the stage tweaked the other way and going more center. The stairs on the amphitheater aren't centered. If you're looking at it, it's more towards the parking lot, it'd be centered, more towards the courthouse, be centered for it. They had a design that looked that way, but they were concerned about the wind, and that was their main concern for that. But had discussed it some more, and I don't think they're gonna move it. They're gonna leave it as it is. I can see they're gonna do a berm on where the waterworks are for the kids, where the county map over there. They're gonna they're gonna build a berm over there so they can have more viewing over there. But eventually, when they're completed, they're looking at getting a capacity of thousands in there. So, which would be nice for other events, larger events to occur there. I just want to give you an update of what I've been doing on that.
Thank you.
I always thought that the greatest thing for that would have been if you put some old railroad tracks in there. You could move this, if it was more intimate, you could like move it closer to the thing, or you could just raise it up a little bit, roll it back a few more feet and set it back down on old railroad track.
We also have a stadium, with the roof closes and opens, so it'd be very nice.
Further discussion? Okay, next up is the park update, the BMX track and skate park by Paul.
All right. How are you guys all doing?
I'm good.
I got a little, sorry for being late. I got carried away with the pressure washer and lost track of time.
It's so much
Wonderful
fun.
Oh yeah, the pressure washer, so much fun.
Love it. I'm doing it. Sorry.
Well, I guess as it relates to the BMX track anyways, we have been down there for a few months once the weather started getting decent enough where we could actually start doing some work on the track. So we put in quite a few hours down there getting the area kind of spruced up and cutting the grass down. It got out of hand this year. It seemed like more so than other years. And we got the jail to help out. Did a little bit of work for us on there to help kind of get us to the finish line. We got somebody down there trying to take care of some of those blackberry bushes. It seems like we've ignored them for a few years, and they just continue to get a little taller and a little taller and a little taller every year. So trying to work on getting those blackberry bushes managed a little bit and get them cut down. We just had our one large event that we have down there every year. Had a nice, decent turnout, not as big as we've had in the past, but had a nice turnout. That was the 23rd of July, I believe. And everybody seemed to be real happy with the facility and all the work that had been done on it. Had a lot of nice compliments from quite a few people from out of town that don't get out here all the time. It was mostly a lot of people from out of town. We kind of have a small group here locally, so rely on a lot of people on those bigger races to kind of come in. So, brought in, there's probably 250 people there if you count parents and riders, came into the community for the day, which is always a good thing. I guess the only other thing, and I think I mentioned it already before, but I know that I talked to Shauna about it. And she thought maybe it might be possible to put in some speed bumps down there because we have noticed that when we're down there working quite a bit, I know the Parks Department, they hear it too, that there's some drag racing that's going on down there in the park. So I don't know if that would be something that could be put in the plans or exactly how to do that, but that might not be a bad idea to throw some speed bumps in there and slow people down. I know somebody ran into the fence here a while back as well. So that's pretty much all I really have update on the BMX track facility. Don't have any real major plans for anything other than just kind of cleaning the facility up, getting it, just keeping it looking nice. So no real infrastructure improvements or anything like that at this point. The skate park, we had a little event there last, that was on the 23rd as well, or the 30th, on the 30th of July. We had a small little event there that mostly just a handful of kids locally that we just had one of our scooter companies that gave us a bunch of free goodies and put together a little community event to be able to hand out. It's kind of as a way of saying thank you to some of the kids. And we did that on the 30th of July at the skate park, but don't really have much to update on the skate park other than I think everybody knows it's, we've heard before in the past that a lot of the kids complain about the surface and it's pretty rough. I don't know what there is that could really be done to that, or if anybody's even explored the possibility of making things better there. If there's some type of a sealer or something that could go on that, or some kind of process to make that surface smoother for the skate park. But other than that, I mean, unless you guys have any questions, that's pretty much all I have.
Sounds good, Paul. But I know that you're part of Cycle Columbia County. And they called me the other day and asked if they could use the Dalton Lake Nature Preserve trails for a family bike ride, which sounds great to me. But Crest has already started work down there and has closed the trails because of heavy equipment they're using.
Oh,
And so what I suggested to her, Latricia, I think her name is,
yes.
was to use the Rutherford Parkway for the families. And if they didn't want to go down the hill, they could turn around midway at the Lions Bench there.
Oh, okay.
And so she's going to go walk the trail and then make a decision about that. But that would be August 24th. I think it starts sometime in the afternoon, but I can
Right.
send that out later.
Paul is the jury. Hey, Paul, what's the use at the park? BMX tracks?
Use.
Yeah, is it used a lot? I mean,
Oh, we use it. Yeah, we use it once a week on Saturday mornings from 10 till we're out of there by 1 o'clock or whatever. And then we did put on a BMX racing league, which was a 6-week course this summer. First time we've done it, to try to kind of introduce new riders to the sport of BMX racing and the park. And that was on Thursday nights for an hour and a half. But typically that's about it.
But those are scheduled events. How about,
Yes.
that's cool. How about unscheduled events? What do you see there?
You know, when I'm down there, working or whatever and doing stuff, there's always somebody down there using it. It seems like a family with their kids or some adult that's down there just riding, maybe riding through town, and he just goes up there and does a couple laps or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it seems to always have somebody there whenever I'm there. So.
Hey, Paul, I see a lot of people down there driving their remote control cars on your track too.
Yeah, I mean, I know like some of the other tracks, they try to say you can't do it. And I mean, I guess I've never really brought it up because I'm like, I don't know if they really do any, are you asking, do they do damage or something?
I don't think they do damage. I'm just saying, I see a lot of people down there cruising on there.
Yes.
You go and watch them, they got these fancy cars and they go like 70 miles an hour.
Yeah. No, you're right about that. There's always people down there with the RC cars riding around and yeah. Yep, that's for sure.
Because they don't make difference.
Oh, they're just having fun.
But yeah, I mean, it seems like it gets a fair amount of use. I don't know, the actual count, but it just seems like when I'm there, there's people that come and go, the whole time I'm there. So it's certainly getting use.
Thank you, Paul.
Yep.
Glad you made it.
Yes.
Any other discussion items?
Oh, I got a quick one.
Okay.
In the past, so there was a conditional use permit given for that. Why were we always notified of conditional use permits for baseball fields and soccer? And yet, what's the difference between saying that?
It's called a special.
Yeah, I think ours is just a field permit.
Yeah, this is a special use permit.
Okay.
So when I took over, all the permits were done down here at City Hall.
Uh-huh.
The gal that did the Parks Commission meetings was down here back in 2008 when she left.
Mhm.
They gave it to me and they gave me the baseball field permits, and you guys would approve them because there were a lot of people on this commission who were also involved at the baseball leagues.
Okay.
That's all gone away. It's all done like the other permits now.
Okay.
I'm the sole survivor.
Hearing no other discussion? The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
The record.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know.
I like her.